while Cardinal Camerlengo Farrell sprinkled his body with holy water. A sack containing coins and medals minted during his pontificate was then placed in the coffin with the Pope. The lid was placed on the zinc-lined coffin, along with the Pope's pectoral cross, coat of arms, and a plaque with the Pope's name and the duration of his life and Petrine ministry, while psalms were sung. After the coffin was sealed, the seals of the Cardinal Camerlengo and the prefects of the papal household, the office of the liturgical celebrations, and the Vatican chapter were imprinted. The wooden coffin, which bears a cross and a coat of arms of the Pope, was then sealed.
And in the images, we see delegations passing in front of the altar of the confession, where the Pope's coffin, sealed coffin, lies still in state. They pause to offer their last respects, their final respects. And there are delegations from at least 130 countries and international organizations gathered here in St. Peter's Square. These include 12 reigning monarchs and 55 heads of state, as well as 14 heads of government and other high officials. And just to cover the event, there are over 4,000 journalists who have been accredited to the Holy See Press Office to cover the event. And the delegations include, besides political leaders from around the world, there are representatives of various world religions, including 5 from Buddhism, several from the Hindu religion, Sikh and Zoroastrian, as well as Jain. There's also a sizable representative from other Christian confessions besides Catholicism, including the Patriarch of Constantinople, Patriarch Bartholomew. There are also representatives of the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate of Alexandria and Antiochia, as well as Jerusalem. The Patriarchate of Moscow has also sent a delegation, as well as the Serbian and Romanian and Bulgarian patriarchs. There's a host of other ecumenical delegations, as well as representatives of the Anglican Communion gathered to celebrate this Requiem Mass for Pope Francis. For those of you who are just joining us, we are preparing to celebrate the Requiem Mass, a funeral liturgy for the late Pope Francis. The Mass will begin at 10 a.m. here in Rome time, GMT +2. We can see the crowds gathered along the Via della Conciliazione and filling up St. Peter's Square. There are many priests and cardinals, bishops, archbishops who are celebrating this, concelebrating this liturgy. There are around 250 cardinals present, and during this liturgy you may notice that the patriarchs and the cardinals will be distinguished from the bishops in their liturgical dress. They will be wearing purple and their white damask mitres, while the bishops will wear plain white mitres. This Mass will include readings from the Acts of the Apostles, the letter of St. Paul to the Philippians, and the Gospel according to John, the homily. And this Mass is presided over by the Dean of the College of Cardinals, the Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re. The prayers of the faithful will be offered in French, Arabic, Portuguese, Polish, German, and Chinese, while the readings for this Mass will be read in in English and Spanish and Latin for the Gospel.
And of course, the celebration will be accompanied by the choir of the Sistine Chapel, singing for Pope Francis one last time. In accordance with the spiritual testament of the Bishop of Rome, the coffin will then be transported to the Papal Basilica of St. Mary Major. The funeral procession will cover a distance of about 4 kilometers through the streets of the capital at a slow pace. So this journey will allow Romans to bid farewell to their bishop along a path he often took to pray before the icon of the Virgin Salus Populi Romani, before and after each of his 47 apostolic journeys. And even recently, after his hospital days, his stays in the hospital in February and in March, he visited this Basilica of Mary Major and went to pray before the icon of the Virgin Salus Populi Romani.
Upon arriving at the Marian Basilica, also known as the Liberian Basilica of St. Mary Major, the Sistine Chapel choir will again welcome Pope Francis and his coffin to its final resting place, along with a group of what could be termed the last ones. We all know that Pope Francis made a special point in his pontificate and his magisterium and teaching to focus on the peripheries of the church and of society, always trying to expand and get to the very heart of the gospel, which is, you have sent me to preach to the poor. And there will be several of people who are homeless or poor and living on the margins of society who will welcome Pope Francis's coffin to St. Mary Major. They will be seated out front. This broadcast will conclude in a couple of hours with the coffin of Pope Francis in front of the Marian icon that he loved so dearly, the Salus Populi Romani, the health of the Roman people. And then the burial will take place privately. Later this afternoon, the cardinals will gather at St. Mary Major to pray Vespers. And this will be on Sunday evening at I believe around 5 p.m. We can hear the singing of the Salve Regina that concludes the Rosary Prayer here in St. Peter's Square, as the faithful prepare to celebrate this Requiem Mass, this solemn liturgy. We note that yesterday evening, on Friday evening, the coffin of the late Pope Francis was sealed in a ritual that, after around 250,000 pilgrims had filed past to pay their respects as he lay in state, as Bonga said, and inside of his coffin was placed a deed. In Latin it's called rogito, that recalls the life and ministry and teaching of Pope Francis, his various encyclicals, and his young life. And this is sealed inside of a metal tube for posterity's sake. His coffin is a zinc-lined wood coffin, and it was, during this ceremony, it was sealed. The deed that was placed with Pope Francis's body, we can read a few excerpts from it. It begins, "With us, pilgrims